Hello and welcome to Unfudge Your Marketing. This is a show where I talk with business owners and leaders about their marketing mistakes, mishaps, and things that just didn't quite go as planned on their marketing. But most importantly, we talk about their lessons learned for you. I'm your host. I'm Kristi Mitchell. I'm a marketing strategist, and I love working with mission-driven, client-centered service providers who have built their businesses on referrals and word of mouth. And they know in order to take their business to the next level and have a bigger impact, they need to finally think more strategically about their marketing. Today, I am so excited to welcome Heather Kay to the show with me. Heather is the Wonder Woman of Strengths. Her company, Ready Aim Impact, is focused on helping teams make an impact, which is why she chose the name. Through seminars and coaching, she uses the strengths-based development to increase effectiveness, as it's not about fixing your weaknesses. It's about leveraging your awesomeness. With that, I will welcome Heather to the show.
Thanks, Kristi. So excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. And I feel like you and I hit it off right away because I am a huge proponent of Strengths Finders assessment. I worked with a coach long ago. You and I talked about this off air a while back. But I'm just such a fan of strengths. Like, I have learned so much about myself that has helped me as a person, as a business owner, like all of the things. So I feel so connected to the work that you do.
It's so amazing to hear. Yeah, I think I get that response from a lot of people where they sort of know who they are, but once they get the report and have the language, it just completely opens up a whole different way of conversation, dialogue, motivating, and most importantly, working towards success. So I'm so glad to hear that what used to be called Strengths Finder is now called the Clifton Strengths Assessment really feels, connected to you. So
love it. Love it. Awesome. So I always like to give a shout out to whoever it was that introduced us or how we met. And we were chatting about this before we came on air. So Nexco, we met at a Nexco meeting and Jeff Savall played a role in that. So shout out to both Nexco and Jeff. Jeff is an awesome guy. Absolutely love him.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's sort of the power of networking and attending networking events. A lot of times we'll go to an event, we'll meet all these people, but if you don't follow up, if you don't have those one-on-one conversations, you're really losing out on the power that happens with that. So the fact that we were at this event, followed up with one another, and now here we are together on this lovely podcast.
Yes, I know. And it's been a long time coming because I think we chatted about this way earlier in the year. So I'm so glad that the date is finally here and we're going to have this conversation.
Yes, me too.
So when we talked about you coming on the show, Heather, you mentioned that you had an experience where you hired a marketing consultant. And I don't want to give away all the juice, but it didn't go well for some reasons. And you felt like the person didn't deliver on what you had agreed upon. And so obviously you learned some lessons from that, as we all do. But I would like to ask you, where were you in your business and kind of what was going on that led you to hire this person to help you with your marketing?
Yeah. So I was probably about a year, maybe a little year and a half into my business, and things were okay. Moving along, kind of putting stuff on LinkedIn, going to networking meetings, again, meeting people, following up. I just was not getting the traction that I thought I should have had. And it was very aggravating, frustrating. Most of us who are in business, we just want to have clients. We want people to be knocking on our doors saying, Heather, like, I want to hire you at where I have to turn away business. And that was not happening. So I spoke to a number of also people who are also solopreneurs. And many of them said, listen, do you have a coach, a business coach, or maybe a marketing person? So marketing really is not my thing. I have no spin. There are people out there who do it. God bless them. I'm much more black and white. So I thought maybe hiring a marketing person would make sense. So that was really how I came to make the decision. Again, it'd been a year and change into it, wasn't reaching my goals, knowing that that was not my strength or my forte. So really decided to hire somebody at that point.
Well, and something interesting that just occurred to me, Heather, as you were talking is like, I think about like my experience going through the Clifton Strengths assessment and then working with a coach to really like realize like, oh my gosh, I didn't like it's that whole, you can't read the label from inside the bottle, right? So like from a strengths point of view, like I didn't know those things about myself until, someone reflected it
Yeah.
back to me. And it sounds like maybe similar to your experience with marketing, right? You're like, I don't know, I'm in my world, I'm doing my thing, it's black and white here. And you're like, okay, I think maybe I
Yeah.
need that outsider's perspective to reflect it back and tell me how I should be doing these things.
Yeah, it was interesting for me because communication is my top theme. So I'm naturally a storyteller. I'm somebody who at coaching sessions, at the end of it, I summarize things really well. I hear key points. When I'm sending out emails, they are clear, they are concise. So you would think that somebody who has that skill would be good at marketing or at least the written word. And yeah, apparently I'm not. So that's one of the wonderful things about the Clifton Strengths is that, you have a theme that seems like it can be all encompassing, but when you get down to the specifics of it, maybe not for that point, maybe more for that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and if it makes you feel any better, like I've talked about this on the show before, like I hire branding people to help me with my own marketing because there are just some things we're too close to it. It's too hard. It's too
Yeah.
hard to see it for ourselves. So you got to
Yeah.
this point where you're like, okay, I know I need to hire an expert. What were
Mhm.
you looking for in that process?
Yeah, I was really looking for somebody who got me, who understood my energy, my passion, who understood what I was trying to do, which was obviously number one, to get more clients, because that's always the name of the game. But also to put out information that resonated, that made people feel something, and also played to my strengths. I am really good at presenting. I am really good at having conversations and podcasting. You put me in a room, I tend to light it up. So really leveraging my talents and what I bring to the table and finding more opportunities for me to do that. So I really wanted to find somebody to partner with who could help me, as well as somebody who I could be truly open and honest with to say, "Ooh, that doesn't work," or "I know you've done that before, but that doesn't feel right to me," without worrying about offending them. Again, I'm never rude, but just making sure that there was somebody who could understand and really have the partnership perspective that I was looking for.
Yes, I love that word, partnership, because as you were talking, I was thinking like you wanted a collaborative approach. You wanted someone to really
Yeah.
partner with you, collaborate, just like give you their recommendations, have that conversation. Because so often, unfortunately, I've had other guests on the show who talk about experiences where they hire a marketing person and it's like, no, you're doing it my way. Like these are the steps. We're doing it this
Right.
way. I hear you,
Right.
you're not feeling it, but like this is what we're doing. And so I love that you went into it knowing that that was what you wanted, what you were looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is something to be said. Look, sometimes, and I appreciate when people push back and say, "Heather, I know that this doesn't feel like what you want, but trust me, trust the process. I've done this for 20 years. This is what works." And I'm more than happy to kind of make those adjustments, but we have to have a conversation versus doing exactly what you said is, here's the process, just follow along, and that's all we're going with. So yeah.
Awesome. So you go into it knowing, okay, I need an expert. I need someone on the outside to help me see things that I don't see. I want someone who's going to collaborate with me, help me leverage my strengths. You're such a light in a room. We've only met in virtual rooms, but you're a beacon
Right.
of light. All of your energy comes through. And so I can see it makes sense. You want to leverage that. You're like, okay, how do I use my talents, my strengths, and really amplify that and get a bigger result for the efforts that you're putting on your marketing? So you found somebody to hire.
Mhm.
Tell us about that process and that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I spoke to a number of people to find out who they use. I put something on Facebook also for local. And I interviewed probably about 6 or 7. They were mostly individuals. I wasn't really looking for a shop. Again, I'm one person. So really was looking also preferably female, if I could support the females in the world.
Love that.
And I just found this one woman. She had a connection to another woman who I was friendly with. So I felt like, all right, if she's recommending her, this should be good. We kind of clicked when we chatted about what it was that I was looking to do. She had some great ideas and said she had a lot of connections. And so I just took a leap of faith and said, all right, let's go and let's make this happen. So yeah, I think I interviewed about 6 or 7 people to start with. So it also was a little laborious, and I was getting to the point. I was like, all right, like I'm done talking to people. Let's make a decision. So
I was gonna say, like, kudos to you for doing that, because 6 or 7 is a lot. Like, that's a lot of your time. That's a lot of like input coming at you, like processing what do different people offer. Because I think especially in the world of marketing, offerings are so different. Like, I've never seen 2 marketing offers that look the same. Like, people have their different areas of expertise, and marketing is such a huge field to begin with. So you did your due diligence. You did a lot of interviewing. You chose the person that you felt like you had a good rapport with. You kind of clicked. She listened to you. Sounded like you liked her approach. So walk us through what happened.
Yeah, so we put together a proposal. I think it was like a 3-month proposal where she clearly outlined the scope of work about what was going to be happening. And we can get to the specifics in a couple of minutes, but really wrote out like, here's what I'm planning on doing. Here's how I'm going to help. We then scheduled, I think it was weekly meetings, or maybe it was every other week, but we were definitely on a rotation where we were keeping track of things about what was happening. So I felt really good going in about having real clarity, having really clear deliverables and outcomes. We had lots of communication. Again, we had those weekly meetings. Sometimes we were emailing and chatting in between. She was answering my questions. So about what we were going to be working on together.
Which again is awesome. It's so interesting to go through this step by step with you, because it's like, oh, this all sounds good. Like, it sounds like you did your due diligence. You interviewed a bunch of people. You knew what you wanted. And now this, again, all the things you're saying, Heather, are topics for other interviews that I've done where someone's like, yeah, we didn't get clear on what we were doing together. And so that just like led. So it's just so interesting to talk to you. It's like, okay, yeah, all these boxes are checked. So you had the clarity going into it. You got your project deliverables. You feel like you're on the same page. So where did things kind of go off the rails?
So there were certain parts of the deliverables which were absolutely met. Like, it wasn't that the whole thing blew up. Like, I didn't have a newsletter. I started using Constant Contact. So I didn't even have something like that. So even, getting together my lists of people about who I wanted to connect with, how we wanted to connect. Even things like I was posting on LinkedIn, but I wasn't doing it consistently. I didn't have campaigns. So the beginning, probably the first month or 2, we're really focused on that. And I felt good about that. We had lots of conversation about what my brand was and how to reflect that in my LinkedIn campaigns, and what my newsletters should include. One of the suggestions was every month should have a blog or like an article. So what kind of content should I put there? How do I relate that back? My newsletter should have sort of like a tip of the month. So really, really focused on getting sort of that foundational marketing piece together, which again, I hadn't even considered or thought about. So that was going well. That was going
awesome.
well. Yes. So, but the 2 areas where I really felt like I needed some help and some direction were on introductions and having an opportunity to present. So one of the deliverables was that I was going to get, I believe it was 5 warm introductions a month. So warm introduction to me is that my marketing person knew this other person. They had a relationship. That she would introduce me, and that person was going to be able to do something for me, whether it was another introduction, whether it was maybe putting me up on a presentation, including me in a podcast, a newsletter, that there was something that was going to be happening. And then the speaking engagements were going to be, I believe that we were going to be doing one a month for 6 months. So going to be setting up the speaking engagement. So I was like, great, like that's exactly what I need. Point me to where I need to go. Tell me who I'm meeting with. I will put together a presentation and I show up. So I was super excited for both of those. And in addition, this person had a lot of connections with the TV stations. So it was going to get me on, some local channels, but again, local channels are great. You can utilize that content again and again.
Yeah.
So, we're in month 1, we're putting together our foundation, month 2, and it's only a 3-month contract. So I finally say, hey, by the way, you've only introduced me to 2 people and I'm expecting to get 15. She's like, oh yeah, I know I have to do that. I'm like, okay. She's like, don't worry. She's like, well, you could go to this event or this event. And I'm like, okay, that's great, but that's not an introduction. Like, I can do that myself. She's like, no, don't worry. And then I said, well, where are we with the speaking engagements? And she said, no, I'm working on that. And she gave me a couple of suggestions. Like, I could contact the local library because a lot of times they'll be looking for space. And I said, yeah, that's not setting up a speaking engagement for me. And
Yeah.
she's right. And she's like, well, but at least this way you can figure that out. So we had a little bit of miscommunication, I will say, on that one.
Yeah. Well, and I want to talk about that for a second, because a lot of times business owners don't think, I think, about this distinction of doing an event where it's like, the way that you were talking about at the beginning is like, you're expecting like, okay, I'm going to show up and there's going to be like a room full of people, whether it's in person or virtually. And like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do my thing and they're going to be listening. Versus like what she's saying is like, oh, well, there's a venue, like you could use that venue, but then you are doing all the legwork to create the event and promote the event and fill the seats at the event and then show up and give the presentation. Like, those are 2 very different things.
Yes. And when I had hired her, I had said to her, one of my issues is that I'm not gaining traction, attracting people to my events the way that I would like to be. I was still getting some people, but if I wanted 50, I was getting 20. If I wanted to do a smaller group of 20, I was getting 6. And that's why those warm connections were also so important. So I felt that I was really clear on the front end of this. So that's why I say miscommunication. And at the end of the day, I didn't get one event booked. So, the ask or the contract was for 6. I didn't get one event booked, which was very frustrating to me, because as great as it was to get that foundational information, the newsletters, the LinkedIn campaigns, etc., that really was not what I was mostly looking to get out from this engagement.
Right. And the other thing too, I think is important, again, for listeners, is when you're doing an event or you're, I guess, thinking in terms of like working with someone to say like, okay, I'm going to get you on stage or I'm going to get you booked at an event. That is a pretty significant promise to somebody versus saying, I will get you a list of events that are geared towards your target audience that you can apply to speak at. Those are 2 very different things.
Very different things. And again, the contract, I believe it said to set up those engagements. So it wasn't a list of suggestions. It was not recommendations for places to go. It was to set up the engagement. So I felt that I was really clear on the front end. I thought the verb that was used in the contract of set up, I thought that was really clear. So so I got, and at the end, there was definitely a flurry of, oh, you should connect with this person and this person and this person. And I said, look, I don't want you to meet the 15 introductions because that's what you're contractually obligated to. I wanted 15 quality introductions. So the fact that you're throwing me this flurry of here you go, like, so it was very, very frustrating for me, because again, I thought I was clear and unfortunately it was not delivered.
Yeah. So certainly I think, we have the clear picture on the side of the events and the, discrepancy in terms of like what your understanding was, what the deliverables would be and what she did deliver. Yeah. So I want to talk a minute about the introductions, because that's another thing. It's interesting because I've never heard of that being included in an engagement. So I find it really interesting. And as a person who loves to connect people in my own network, I just did this morning, I talked to a guy that I know who's he started this new podcast community for people to come and get advice on doing their own podcasts and stuff, or being guests on other people's podcasts. And I was like, oh, well, I know someone who produces podcasts. And he's like, that would be a great intro. He's like, because I don't get into that space. So we could like, refer clients and things. Like I love making those kinds of intros. That's just, I'm like processing it in my head as you're speaking about it, because I'm like, I can't imagine charging for that. I mean, I guess there is a space to do that for sure.
Yeah. So it's actually interesting because I'm a natural connector. I've got includer as one of my top themes. I have woo, which is somebody who likes to be around people. I also have developer, where I love watching people be successful, knowing I have like a little hand in that. But there are people who that's not their natural ability. I actually was networking with somebody had introduced me, and within 5 minutes they said to me, if I get you like some introductions and they wind up, getting you business, is there a referral fee for me? And I was so taken aback by that. I said, honestly, I hadn't even thought about that. I just connect people because same way as you, like, I'm happy to connect you. And if you get business out of it, but there are people and there are networking groups, like they're focused on sort of what that ROI financially is for them on that. I know, but again, we're all different people, which is why we make the world go round. So, and again, for me, I was looking to break into some different areas, and this person was definitely in a different area geographically than I was. Her friend situation was different. So my thought was, she has access to this entire group of individuals that I don't. So great. If I have to pay for that and it lands me, one or two business opportunities, worth its weight in gold.
That makes so much sense. And that is, it's interesting that you and I are similar in that way. Like we just like connecting people. And the referral fee thing is interesting too, because I had an experience earlier this year where someone offered to introduce me. He was like on a contract role with a client, and he offered to throw my hat in the ring because they were looking to like get rid of their marketing person and hire someone else. And he was like, would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's worth a conversation. I don't know if it's the right fit or not. But then it was like, then later he was like, well, and I just want to make sure we're on the same page there, like that you would pay me a referral fee. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. He like positioned it as like industry standard. Like, and I was like, oh, that's just so weird, because the world that I work in is like, some people do that as a nice gesture, but like to have someone expect it, I think just another one of these things, right? That we all view it differently and we all have different experiences.
Yep, absolutely. And like I said, for me, because it was an area that I wanted to get into, I was happy to have that be included. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. At the end of the day, that was one of the deliverables that was not met. Unfortunately. So
super unfortunate.
So I think potentially sticking to people like us who are natural connectors is probably the way to go.
Right. Which hopefully you get business out of, and you didn't even have to pay for it. It's just a pay it forward kind of thing.
Right. I love that pay it forward perspective. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Heather, our time is flying by, as I feel like it always does on this show. So as we get close to wrapping up here, I'm curious if there are any specific lessons learned or advice that you want to leave for listeners.
So first piece of advice is be really, really clear on what it is that you're asking for in the deliverable, and make sure that it is spelled out. Again, I thought setting up in engagements was clear. If I could go back and do it again, I would be very clear, by setting up a speaking engagement, which entails finding the venue, like being really, really clear about that. So I think that's really important. The second piece I think is important to note is what happens if these deliverables are not met. I had already paid. I think I paid the first part at the beginning, the second part halfway through. And my person I was working with gave me an extra month, maybe two, of her services, which was nice, but it still was not the areas that I needed. It was more time with LinkedIn posts or media posts. Still was not it's still not the deliverable, the outcome that I wanted. So being clear, if these deliverables are not met, what happens? Is there a refund? Do I get extra time? Again, I don't even know what other options there are, because I sort of felt stuck. And she agreed. She said, "Oh, you're right. I did not do this." And I said, "Okay,
so
but
now
what do we do now?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And because it wasn't clear on the contract, she said, "I'll give you an extra month or two." And I mean, part of the problem is I don't think she had the skill set to do what she promised. So even giving me an extra month or two, that wasn't going to help create more time to do what I needed.
Yeah.
So I think being clear about that, and then also being really clear, the things that are important, ensuring that they can deliver that. Again, it didn't occur to me that setting up in a speaker engagement was something that was going to be difficult, that I sort of needed to have them prove that they can do that. But going forward, and now that I've worked with some other consultants, I've been much clearer, and I really pushed back on the conversations before I sign anything. Like, I was working with somebody, we're talking about creating media posts. I said, what does that mean? Like, oh, media posts. I'm like, no, I'm not a media person. What does that mean? And when you say create, are you giving me the content? Are you building it in Canva? Are you posting it? Like what exactly do all of these words mean? So that's another piece of advice, especially if you're like me and you don't really understand and you have ideas in your head, that clarity is helpful.
Yes, I love that advice, Heather. I think that is so incredibly wise. And I personally really appreciate it when potential clients ask me a lot of questions or push back on things that they don't understand, because I'm like, absolutely, we need to be on the same page. And like, I want you to understand what's in this agreement that you're signing off on. So I think that is such great advice and so fair, right? Especially as most business owners are not marketing experts. And so if you're looking to hire a marketing expert, asking a ton of questions and making sure you're super clear and on the same page is really, really important.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. I mean, look, marketing is about being creative, and sometimes creative people are not as succinct as business people are. And this is a gross generalization, so I want to be clear about that. But I think the people who I have worked with since then are like you, Kristi. They are thrilled to be able to have more afford more clarity, because that's just not really where their brain went initially. But if they can say, oh no, I'm going to build this media tile for you in Canva, I'm going to use your color palette, I'm going to ensure that I have your logo on it, we're going to use the words from your website, I'm going to post it in these 4 places and follow that up, I say, great, awesome. Now I know what you're doing. And they're like, oh, good, Heather's excited to sign up now that she has that clarity. So it's sort of like that win-win.
Yeah, I love that. Such a great example too. Well, Heather, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your story, all the lessons learned. Before we sign off, how can people learn more about you and the work that you do?
Oh, thanks so much for offering. So my website is readyaimimpact.com. Go there and check me out. A lot of the work that I do is really focused on the strengths-based perspective. So how do you build your superpower? Everybody has talents. They have natural abilities. How do you amplify them, to use your word? How do you build them to be more effective as a team, as an individual? And I've got lots of great information there about how you can do that through workshops, through one-on-one coaching. I do keynotes, but website readyaimimpact.com is probably the best place to come find me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you again, Heather, so much for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. And I hope that my tale of woe is helpful for others.
I'm sure it will be.